Happy day, happy life, happy journey. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to share with you. And before we get into talking to Steffen, he's just going to sit here and emit love and joy while we're talking for a moment. Thanks, brother. Just to tell you a little bit about Rhythmia and what's going on. We are open. We've been open since November, and amazing. Today's the first day of group 211. We're over 8,000 guests. That means over 32,000 ceremonies. This place is tuned up and ready to receive you. Come on down. It's easy to get into Costa Rica. You don't need a PCR test or anything. You fly down, you fly into Liberia, we pick you up. But guess what? When you arrive on property, we give you a COVID test so that everybody that comes on property is tested and negative. And then we do twice daily temperature checks for guests, 3 times daily for our staff. The staff is tested, and it's a closed campus, meaning limited regress and egress to help you stay safer. So while we can't guarantee anything, I think we're doing about 400 times more than anyone else. And so you can come down and have a pre-COVID experience here at Rhythmia. And man, it's been amazing in ceremony and each week. So that's a little bit about us. Welcome, everybody. And I want to welcome Steffen Hoffman, our creative director, my friend and brother, and super talented individual. Steffen has worked with tell us a little bit about the companies you've worked with.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you a little bit of my professional background. So I got started off in creativity many years ago, designing things like that for a band I was in. And it just so happened that's kind of how I met Jerry as well. So we'll get into that. And since then, I just got really bit by this entrepreneurial bug. So I opened up a design agency first when I was 21, right before I graduated
Mm-hmm.
and worked in New York City for a while at a startup there. And decided to move out to LA to start various different startups, apps, web stuff, products. I worked at the Honest Company there, and I led the launch of their beauty platform. I worked at Salesforce, working at Rhythmia now. Created a few different startups, different product companies. One was a deodorant. The other one before that was a tincture. And just the place creatively, which is kind of how my mind works. And I really love that stuff.
And he's rolled into Rhythmia, bringing all of this talent and energy and creativity. And I know you've seen it in the way things have shifted, our presentations, our filming. I think you've seen, Steffen's behind all of that. The Facebook Live, Facebook, all of the redesign of the website that's going on, all of our social media, the consistency of branding is all coming from this guy, our creative director. And he also does music and ceremonies. You're a great musician. Put out a beautiful album recently.
Yeah.
Tell us about your album.
It was kind of my quarantine project, and it was the nearest and dearest to my heart for all the different things I was going through at that time. And it was a challenging year for all of us. And I thought it was a good way just to express my soul and express myself through the music. So I came out with this album during quarantine. And playing in ceremonies has been one of the most healing, amazing, just gratitude-filled experiences that I've had as of recent, just to be able to connect with your instrument in that way and to connect with the energy of the room and help people shift and go through their transformations during ceremony. And then even hearing it the next day, like, oh, I love this song that you played, or the music was so beautiful. Thank you. So just, it warms my heart each and every time. And it's a huge passion of mine to do that. I absolutely love it. I'm very grateful for Jerry and the team to allow me to participate in ceremony in that way and connect with all the other musicados.
Okay. Before I want to have a follow-up question, but I want to just give a shout out to Dorota, hello, beautiful, and Mia, hello, and Debbie, hello, aloha, beautiful, and Lisa from the Poconos, and Max, what's up? Welcome, everybody. You know what I'm going to do?
I also grew up in the Poconos.
Hey. Yeah. So Lisa and Max, where are you in the Poconos? So look, I'm putting the chat. We should start to see some chat up here on the screen so you can see what other people are saying. But Steffen, okay, Mia wants to know which instrument you play.
Sure, yeah. So it's 2 of them I play now, and it's ever growing. I want to play a lot more, but I'll get to it soon. I play piano and the handpan drum.
Okay, so I want to know, when you are in the medicine
Yeah.
right? Does the keyboard like move sometimes? Like, how do you play when you're really in the medicine? What's
Yeah.
that experience?
You know, sometimes it reminds you ever see Beetlejuice,
Yes.
where the banister on the stairs becomes a snake
Uh
and
huh.
it's striped white and black. That's kind of what it feels and looks like sometimes. It just seems like it's moving, and the depth of field is really interesting too. Sometimes where things seem longer and shorter, and a lot of it's actually when I'm playing. It's a lot of trust and surrender, because there's a lot of things going through your head. Oh, I'm gonna hit the wrong key. I can't even see what I'm playing. I forget what this instrument is. If you're having like a confusing part of your experience, yeah, I'll honestly sit down and forget how to play anything and what this thing is in front of me. But yeah, it's just a lot of trust, and I'll just close my eyes and hit the first chord, and then from there, spirits flowing through, things are channeling, and my hands find the right spots.
Oh, so beautiful. And what a great example in life. I always say, whatever your practice is, whether it's yoga or
Mm-hmm.
meditation or plant medicine or all three, but the intention is always to take the practice off the yoga mat, off the what did I say? Yoga off the meditation cushion or
Mm-hmm.
off the mattress, right? Into life.
Mm-hmm.
So that trust that you feel when you're things are uncertain, you're not sure, you're worried, and
Yeah.
you trust, how has that how have you taken that off out of ceremony and into your life? How has that impacted your life in other ways?
In a lot of really big ways. I I feel like with some, especially in the creative realm, almost fearless to work on different projects. Like if it's something I don't know, I'm more than happy to take that risk and say, sure, I'll learn it. And having that faith and confidence, I can do a good job as long as I just focus on it, practice it a little bit. So it's really helped me follow my intuition, take those risks, and still try to operate at a very high level.
Beautiful. One of the things I want to kind of take us back, and I want to
Sure.
say shout out to Dina. Is it Dina
Idaho.
from Idaho and Heidi in South Dakota? Ooh, welcome everybody. And go where you're from and ask us any questions or anything that's on your heart that you want to know. We want to include the chat, include you. So I've had the pleasure of knowing this brilliant young man for a couple of years now that we've been working together,
Mm-hmm.
and you shared with me your story,
Mm-hmm.
right? And which made it even more remarkable what you've accomplished.
Yeah.
And will you share? I want a little bit about what you've come from, what you've overcome,
Sure.
what you've grown through, and then we can kind of lead into your story of transformation, that moment of awakening.
Sure. Yeah. And thank you for listening to my story. And
Yeah, brother.
always thanks for your words of wisdom. I'll just take a little side conversation. JJ always, he just beams positivity. Um, like even before doing this, he did a prayer for both of us. He's always thoughtful, thinking of everyone else, and a great person to talk to about things like this. So
Thanks.
I
Thank you,
appreciate your
brother.
friendship.
I do
And
too.
yeah, the story in my path makes me that much more appreciative of the medicine and this amazing tool of nature we have to help heal ourselves from within. I had a pretty troubling childhood. It was a tough experience. It was not a great hand. We were very poor. We struggled with poverty to the point where we were on food stamps, Section 8, house assistant, pretty much every government program you can think of, we were on it. And since my dad was out of the picture since I was 5, they divorced. And ever since a young age, he was very kind of direct with how he spoke to us and would always say, we're a mistake. He's sorry that he had us. He doesn't want to see us. And from that age, you start developing this identity of, maybe I'm worthless. Maybe I'm not meant to be here. And so a very like amazing positive that came out of having the broken home and the parents who weren't really around was I had to do everything by myself, and I didn't know what a safety net was or know to have that security, whether it be financial or emotional or spiritual security. You just got to figure things out on your own. So I became very independent, kind of a quiet kid, and very smart and bright too. I put a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that energy. I channeled it into school because I felt like if I got really good grades, I could get a good job and I wouldn't have to, live like this again. Um, One challenging part of growing up too was we would get evicted quite a bit. So my mom had a really hard time with hoarding and keeping things together, keeping things responsible. So each year it was a risk of eviction, and social services would come and inspect the place. And it was like just this worry that I don't think a kid should have at that age. But that was another thing of, trusting and surrendering. I think why I can do that so easily with a lot of the things in my life and professional path is that's just how it was for me. And that's what I got used to. You're going to be on your own. Things are going to change a lot. You just got to go with it, be strong through it. So I'm super grateful that all of that played out the way it did, because I'm sitting here with you now because all of that happened.
Yes.
And I get to sit here every Wednesday because all of that happened. And with what I'm entrusted to do here with leading the brand and the creativity and things, I can just go and, figure this stuff out. It gave me this amazing tool of problem solving and knowing that you're smart enough to figure it out and things like that. So yeah, even though it was not the best experience, it made me that much more dynamic as an adult, and really appreciative.
I want to acknowledge you for, we see it in Jerry's story, right? Like his story of being sexually abused as a child was the very fuel that caused all these issues, but it was in finding that out that had him forgive. And it was almost a relief to learn something, right? And I think each one of us have had an experience of not wanting to have gone through something, but on the other side of it, there's a pearl, there's some lesson, there's some blessing.
For sure.
And so just to acknowledge you for finding that pearl in what could be a very debilitating, right? You rose out of that in such a powerful way. And on my own, I'm thinking, well, the simple thing I wanted to share was how much I admire you for that self-starting piece. And I'm working through on the opposite. I had a really loving parents, and my parents were married for 70 years, right? But there was, on the other side was, I didn't develop that sense of self-reliance. So I'm working on that now, right? Like that's the part that I'm working on. So I just really
it's
admire
like flipped
that
in that way. And a lot of my work and practice up here is empathy and compassion for others, and really understand them.
Yes. I said we'd respond to people. So let's respond. First of all, we got Toronto and Vermont. Hello. Thank you, Andrea. And Cash, brother. Hermano, we need to reschedule you for this, Cash. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have someone from Nepal. Hello, Sabin. Welcome. And Bernadine, Soul Fam. Oh, my dear Bernie. Hi. Can't wait to see you.
Wow, Nepal.
I know, Nepal. Willow. Thank you so much, Willow. And yes, Tricia is asking, do you get your answers from having an ayahuasca experience? What do you say to that?
Yeah, I do. And I might be a little particular because of what I do for a living with the creativity. So all the things that I covered, and I'm all self-taught, is photography, videography, website coding, design, the music. So pretty much anything in the creative realm isn't off limits to me. And I developed this practice around it, which I now consider my spiritual practice of doing these things and to create something new every day. And a lot of harmony if I'm working on a design problem, or I have like a creative block, or I'm just thinking about something creatively, it comes to me, and it just flows through. And it's in those moments you least expect it. You could be in the bathroom in the Maloka staring at a rock salt lamp, and I'm like, oh, wow. I could be outside by the Easter Island statue staring at the stars, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. So it helps you look at things. I think it puts you in a state of consciousness where you can observe and analyze things from a different perspective. And once you do analyze it from that perspective, you're able to creatively problem solve, and the stuff just kind of comes to you. So I've had many experiences like that.
I was born and raised in Arizona, and in the southern border of Arizona, northern border of New Mexico, there's a tribe called the Yaqui Indian tribe. And their plant medicine is peyote. And their mythology is that we're literally connected by like a hose to the universal mind, right? And when we take plant medicine, they say, like, if you're connected up here, when you take plant medicine, it kind of moves it over here. Like you're just moving the connection, right?
Or widening it,
right? Well, no, it's actually like it's like a shift in perspective, right? like, oh, I was connected here, but now I'm connected in this way. Same universal mind. It's like putting on, yellow sunglasses, and now I
Right.
see the same thing but through a different filter.
Yeah.
So I love that you said that. Like,
Hmm.
it reminded me of that when you were saying you see things from a different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are piling in from Egypt. Wallah. Great, great to see you in Ism Allah Kandra. And Lisa Clark is coming back to Rhythmia. Beautiful. Um, Willow, quick question. Do you have to self-isolate if we go to Rhythmia? No, because you're tested when you come. And we also, by the way, you also typically have to get a test to get back into the United States. However, we do the test here. So you don't even have to leave campus. You get the test and you're tested. It's ready for you when you go back to the airport. It's all handled and done. Aaron from Georgia, Bruce from Arizona. Awesome. Okay, here's what I want to know.
Sure.
Your story of awakening, your story of germination, that thing that had you pull yourself out of a possible victim mentality around your past, your connection with spirit. Like, how did you get from there to here?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think about this too, and there's this divine magic that's at play in the universe that really guides us and leads us to where we need to be. And I think it's what happened in my case, where in my late 20s, I was doing really well professionally, working at different, making good money, really happy with the work I was producing, stuff like that. I did feel like there was something missing, and I did struggle here and there with depression. But I didn't have a spiritual fulfillment at that time that I was seeking. Necessarily aware to the traumas that I had inside that I needed to be addressed, or even aware of how I acted towards others. I think my awareness was pretty closed off. I was sleeping a little bit, and I was in a band several years ago. It was like this pop punk band with Little Jerry, Jerry's son, and that's how I met Big Jerry. And this is in my early 20s. We used to rehearse in his basement, and that's how I got introduced to him. And he was kind of like this mythical figure, like dude, very charismatic, really nice guy. So I kind of looked up to him, as like a father figure, like a business person to learn a lot from, things
Right.
like that. And he told me at that point, I was doing some design work for him at that time. And he's like, Steph, I want you part of my next company. I don't know what it is, but I want you part of it. And I was like, all right, I'm in. Let's do this. So fast forward, man, I think it was like 8-10 years. We're both in LA. He's doing his thing in Malibu, and a lot of the people listening, and JJ knows his story. He was having a hard time struggling with
Right.
different things, and it led him to Aboga. He came back, invited the team to his place, like his initial little mastermind group, and was like, I'm going to start this resort, and it's going to be in this place. And I got these messages from the medicine and things like that. And at that time, I had a type of psychedelic. And it was all just new to me. I was like, oh, wow, Jerry's acting in a different way, and he has all these ideas. And I was really excited because it was like this new thing, and we got to go down and try the product. So we all went down. It was a boat time, and did ceremonies together down here, some of the first ones. And at that moment is when I got kicked off on this particular path, because it's a very challenging. Iboga can be a very challenging, more masculine experience. But I just felt it was so profound that you can explore your consciousness in that way with just a tiny little pill or this little bit of nature. And from then I was like, man, there's a lot I want to explore here. And I often look at some of these ceremonies as you're like your own explorer in this infinite vastness of the universe.
Oh, I love that.
And there's always something there, another layer to get through, or maybe you're going through something hard and you regressed a little bit and you want to get recalibrated as well. But there was always something there. So I started practicing a little bit more. And I was doing my own thing for a couple years there because I really wanted to start my own companies and products. And then just about 2 years ago, Jerry asked me to come back and help create the Our Love app, the Rhythmia Love spiritual dating app. And I just became, once I came back, I was so enamored with the mission, and I was so soul connected to what we're trying to do here. And it's been such an amazing driving force to know that we're really making a change in the world by helping change people's minds and helping them transform a little bit. Because once they come here and experience that and dip into that, they then go out into their lives and pass on that same wisdom and knowledge and all these newfound things from their healing. So yeah, to like falling into this, I'm just so grateful that I get to be part of all of it. And I say it every day to myself as a reminder, and doing these things and seeing people transform each week. Man, it's just so amazing.
Yeah.
I can't talk more about that. It's been so profound to me.
I I agree. Like I get to do this, right? But
Yeah.
but that mentality is really for all of us, for no matter what we're doing, right? Because we might be in a place where somebody could be listening to your story and be like, "Oh, that's great for you. You were lucky enough to be Jerry's neighbor as a kid. Oh, that's why." No, that's not why, right? Those were things along the way which we all have, but the real benefit or the real juice from that comes in realizing that whatever it is we are doing, we get to do it, to do what's in front of us to do, and that we're being led on this royal road to awakening.
Yeah.
No matter what, no matter what. And we're not done, right? It's not like you're done, right, on this road of expansion. Like, so the question kind of how did you get from here to there is a little tough, because it's not like, well, I'm not finished.
Yeah.
So how do you have this sense of, yes, I've arrived at a sense of wholeness? Because let me see if I can phrase it differently. How do you relate to the fact that there is a sense of awakening, there's a sense of expanding, and yet there's a sense of I still don't have all the answers. In fact, maybe I know less now than I thought I did before. And there's an unfolding, ongoing process. So yes, you've had an awakening, and how do you process and relate to your continuous growth and expansion? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I give a tangible example of, my practice. So it was Mitra here, who's the shaman, Yahi shaman on Thursdays, spiritual leader, amazing guy. And I always take nuggets of wisdom from their opening and closing talks.
Absolutely.
And because I was questioning myself of like, am I spiritual enough? Am I a spiritual person? Like, I don't like to do some of these things, but I like to do some of these things. And it was a question I had for myself. And he summed it up by saying a spiritual person is someone who gets in touch with spirit, whether that be through art, music, dancing. And I'm paraphrasing here, but it was something very similar to that. And that really congealed it for me of just looking at everything I did in my life, especially on the creative side, as the spiritual practice, as something sacred. Because I feel like every time I sit down, I set intention for what I'm designing and why I'm designing it. And I honor the fact that I'm visiting the sacred space of creativity or oneness of source. I think it all comes from there. And knowing that I'm visiting this sacred space, it helps me get the job done quicker, because now I'm kind of fueled by knowing that it's this thing. And I think the work tends to be more beautiful. It's more of an expression of what you're feeling in that time, and that has really helped me day in day out on the daily, to maintain that strong soul connection I want for myself, and knowing that I'm always visiting this space when I'm doing my work. And rather than looking at it as work, I'm creating a piece of art, and I'm visiting a sacred space to create a piece of art. And just shifting that narrative for me helped a lot on, you know, being able to do a lot of different things and just cover that ground. And it also gave me clarity on, am I a spiritual person, and what is my spiritual practice? I need to be doing this, this, and this. It was like, Steffen, you already are that, and you already are doing these things. Just honor them a little bit more and treat them as something more sacred.
Amazing. Are you spiritual enough? Right? Like, that's like the question that I think we all, it comes from that basic human sense of not enoughness. Like, I'm just not enough for whatever's happening. And I love your practice of intention setting. It's an intention is almost like a prayer. It's a prayer. It's an intention. It's imbuing. So everything is contained in our intention and our yes and our willingness. What a beautiful practice if you did that before you did the dishes,
right?
If you did that before you went to work, right? If we all did that, like no matter how mundane, I'm chopping wood and carrying water, but I'm putting an intention into it.
Mm-hmm.
We're bringing the sacred into the profane.
Right.
So beautiful. Thank you for sharing that practice.
Thank you. Yeah.
Uh, okay, let's look at some
That's a good
questions.
one.
Do you listen to particular music when you do your artwork?
Yes, actually, I do. Um, I listen to a lot of Philip Glass, and I actually play some of his stuff in ceremony for the repetitive figures. It's a lot of arpeggios, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of things repeating. But the thing I noticed with his music and just playing it more is every time you repeat those figures and you recycle it, it's something new. You're playing it new. It's a different velocity. It's a different energy behind it. And it just really, it's almost hypnotic listening to some of his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The opening is a really good one to check out. A2 number 2 of Philip Glass. But anytime I'm doing it with a lot of focus, I need to really visit that sacred creative space. Philip Glass is usually on.
I'm on it.
And in addition to him, some other similar guys, Max Richter, he has really beautiful pieces to help you sleep. Um, he does a lot of soundtrack work. A lot of these guys are like solo piano kind of composery types. Johan Johansson, Oliver Arnolds, Nils Fromm, all of those guys are. I just got them on loop, repeating, and it just really helps you get into that zone.
Great question.
Yeah.
I do want to respond. Chandra also asked, can you tell us a little bit about rhythmia for those of us who are new and about to rhythmia? So really quickly, Rhythmia is a life advancement center here in Guanacaste, Costa Rica. It's a week stay, all-inclusive center, five-star resort with great amenities, farm-to-table food, organic, massages, colonics, yoga, breathwork, meditation, um, metaphysical classes, and plant medicine. So that is our biggest. Um, that is our core foundation is through use of plant medicine. We're an ayahuasca retreat center, and through use of plant medicine and breath work and these other modalities, people awaken to the miracles in their lives. Here at Rhythmia, every week, 97.55% of our guests report a life-changing miracle during their stay. And not only that, but that 6 months later, that the miracle's still in their lives, still working, and that this was the week that changed their lives. So it's a unique combination of ancient modalities, ancient methods, ancient traditions, and new modalities. And we're a medically licensed facility as well. So you can go to the website, Candace, and there's a great video on there that'll give you a little bit and lots of testimonials to check out a little bit about Rhythmia. Would you add anything?
No, that's perfect.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Covered it.
So, oh, Kendra's really on it. She's got some great questions. Do you drink wine, plants, etc.?
Yeah, actually, it was after my first few ayahuasca ceremonies, I became vegan. I first started with, I'd probably eat meat with every meal before that. And then my late 20s, early 30s, it all switched due to plant medicine. And like I was saying, it kind of changes your perspective on things. So, the vegan, more plant-based lifestyle was a really amazing switch. That was one of the biggest changes that stuck with me after doing plant medicine. So I would really recommend trying a more plant-based diet, not necessarily going vegan, but there's a lot of great studies and research on how that cleans us out, reduces inflammation, gives us energy, enhances our creativity. And I did write some creativity tips here.
Oh, great.
That
Let's
I
have
was
some
going to share with
creativity
you guys.
tips.
These are things that I do to do what I do. And I've been doing this one now for about a decade, maybe longer. And it's mini goals, which are goals I set throughout the day that I must hit to reward myself. So it's like this goal, this reward system that I developed. And I would, let's say I'm working on editing a video. I won't stop editing. I'll keep on going until I stop. And then my reward for that is lunch. So I'll reward myself with food. Say I'm editing photos from a photo shoot or something. I'll keep on doing that and reward myself with a walk. So they're basic things that I would do anyway. But the fact that I set this goal and pushed myself, what I noticed with that was it just made me really get through stuff quickly, but not like I'm rushing it. It was just more efficient, more optimized way of doing things for me. So setting those mini goals throughout the day. I even got as crazy as like going to the bathroom was a mini goal of mine. So that might be a little too intense. I wouldn't recommend that one.
Okay.
But yeah, like food, walks, movement, just like treating yourself to those things.
Yeah.
And then when you go to those things normally, it becomes more of like a gift or like a sacredness. Or if like doing rape, you're like, all right, I'm gonna go out and do some rape after I finish this thing. When you come to it, it feels like this gift like thing, like, oh, a present for myself.
And that it's like it's appropriate, right? Because if I took a break in the middle of still editing those photos,
Right,
and it'd be
yeah.
like, oh, I still got to do this, no. But now it's like, oh no, that's complete. Now this is my time.
Right.
So
It allows you to
beautiful.
switch context easier because when you are in the flow, editing or designing something, you want to stay in that flow. And I would say listen to that. If even if your body or something else is telling you, if you're like really feeling what you're doing, keep on riding that out.
Great,
And listen
great
to
insight.
it. Um, Another one is something that led with the mini goals was intermittent fasting. So because I'd be so focused on doing the work and just taking these, like treating myself to these goals throughout the day, I kind of fell into eating one meal a day around 6 p.m. usually. And I didn't know if that was healthy or not. So I looked it up. I was reading all these benefits about intermittent fasting and how to do it correct. And it just so happened the intervals I was stopping and eating aligned with the intervals that they recommend. And there was just all these benefits to doing that. So I eliminated any type of hangry feeling. I rarely, I would say ever get any type of like angry, hungry type emotion. So that helped with that because I do feel like the 3 meals a day, and it's all kind of just invented by our culture. It's not like our body actually needs to eat at these 3 times. I just think it's something that we've been so programmed to do.
Totally.
So I just started listening to myself more. As like, am I hungry? No. Cool. Keep on moving. And it just led into the fasting thing, which is a benefit of that. This is more
I want to talk about fasting.
Sure.
I I have really enjoyed fasting way more than I thought I would have. Like today, for example, I'm doing the one meal a day. So Mondays and Fridays, I do one meal a day. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I fast from dinner until lunch. So it's like 16 to 18 hours and then 24 hours. So Monday, Friday, 24-hour fast, middle of the week. And for me, I'm not as disciplined as you. So it helps to bring discipline into my life, right? And I'm making some wins like those mini goals that you're talking about because I'm completing something that I said I was going to do, that I promised myself I was going to do.
Right.
That feels so good, and it engenders more of me doing more work or doing my right. So I really And then you're right, the health benefits. Releasing stem cells, letting giving your pancreas a break, letting your digestive system move stuff out. We are so locked, you know. So, yes, I just wanted to acknowledge and agree, and I'm fasting right now.
Awesome.
Okay.
Let's keep ourselves honest on it, man. We should do like some fasting check-ins.
Totally. I'll call you tonight when I eat dinner.
All right. And more general one, just staying curious. I've always had a big curiosity about all kinds of things, the cosmos, all the design stuff, spirituality. And me maintaining that curiosity led to me discovering certain passions about myself. And have lots of hobbies. Your curiosities can lead to these hobbies. I always feel that art inspires art. And that's a big reason why I have a practice of doing so many different disciplines in the creative realm, because I found when I'm shooting something that it might inspire something for music, or if I take a break from coding a website and spend that writing some music, then I come back to the website stuff with a really fresh take on things. So really lots of hobbies. Time permitted,
it all I think it's healthy. Primes the pump. Yeah. Right. I just have to acknowledge one thing. My mom is here. I just have to say, I feel her. Like my right shoulder is on fire. So hi, Cecilia. Love you. This idea of priming the pump, right? That we get our creative juices flowing. It works with physiologically, right? If you're exercising and you're moving your body, you're breaking down your muscles and you're building them back up. All of the healing mechanisms of the body are online, right? They're primed and ready to go. So then if you get an injury, you heal much faster. If you're not moving your body and you get injured, those regenerative systems have to like get online, prime up, get ready. It takes a lot longer. And I think it's the same thing with our creative systems, our energetic
Oh,
systems,
for sure, man.
right?
And you totally nail it by having that analogy of comparing it to something physical. Is like runners don't get good at running unless they practice running, or mountain bikers don't get good at mountain biking unless they're mountain biking every day and they have a rigid practice with it. Same with any type of sport or discipline. So why not look at creativity as as people do when they train their muscles or train their
Yes.
physical body to do something. If I want to win a gold medal at the Olympics as a swimmer, I have to be swimming every day for hours. So if you do really want to be more creative, you just got to always keep on putting yourself in a spot to do something creative. To recap on the tips, to
Yes.
summarize, try to, and I think I mentioned it before, but try to do one creative thing a day.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be a work of art or a song. It could be, I use like JJ as an example. I think he's an amazing orator. You're great with words. And I think that's a creation just to do a live, to channel that and to uh, give that back on this platform in that way. I think it takes a certain artistry and composure. So even looking at like things like that, or even how you were with someone. So I don't think it has to be a material thing that you make. It could just be something you want to accomplish. Because I think there is a creative spin you can put on a lot of different things.
Or self-expression.
Or self-expression.
Any self-expression. Like for me, talking and being in communication is expressing aspects of myself.
Mm-hmm.
For someone else, it might be gardening, or it might be
right.
organizing.
Yeah.
Right. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Creative thing a day. What's your recap? I love, you've told me that before. I try and do one creative thing a day, and I think that's so brilliant. Mm-hmm. I love that. I love all the tips. So share.
Sure. Yeah, the mini goals, which can lead to intermittent fasting. So let's see, the staying curious, having lots of hobbies, and do one creative thing a day.
Beautiful.
And then the music I mentioned too. If you listen to that while you're doing this, yeah, you could really put yourself in a prime zone.
And you've got a certain set of composers on loop, you said, which I think is really interesting because I was trying to do some regular writing, mm-hmm. and one of the recommendations, music on when you write.
Yeah.
Every time, so that when that music comes on, it's like a Pavlovian trigger. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, now I'm creative. Right. So it's really interesting. You kind of intuitively did that.
Yeah.
Super cool. Yeah. What else is really cool about Steffen that I'd love to wait really quickly. Kandra's asking great questions, but I want to say, hey, to Enoch, number 9, brother, love you. Bernie loves intermittent fasting. And Kandra's asking, do you feel as though you were in a session of meditation? Does it also help with the progress in your inner evolution?
Yeah. Totally.
Yes.
If this is Kandra's question here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like you're in a real deep meditation, especially if you get to a flow state. And there's this great book called Flow. I forget the name of the author, but maybe we can put it in the comments. Where you just feel like everything is so aligned and you're so focused. You're not thinking of anything else. And sometimes with music, I'll sit down at 3 p.m. I'll look up again, it's 3 a.m. And I'm like, wow. I was just, you go into this like vortex and you're aware and you're conscious and you're doing these things, but time doesn't matter. You're super focused. So it does feel like you're coming out of like a breath work journey, or even like a medicine journey sometimes. And what's cool about that is you come out of it with a work of art, or you have something, to show and something to feel proud about.
We in the metaphysical explanation of consciousness, mm-hmm. that flow state is a channel state, mm-hmm. right? And it just fits so perfectly with the biblical phrase, it is not I, but the Father within that does the work. It is not I, but the Spirit within. Mm-hmm. And the word enthusiasm from the Greek, in theos, meaning full of God, full of spirit. Enthusiasm means full of spirit, right? So you're enthusiastic, you're childlike, time and space blend or disappear, right? Because you're full of the spirit, you're channeling that divine mind, that one mind, and something's moving through you. And it's so beautiful because we all have that capability, right?
This is why I love you, JJ. You always you always have these references, and it's like right spot on, and it's so like relative to the conversation.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
I-
I'm like, where does he pull these? Where does he store these things?
I forget about them.
Yeah.
This is the hard part, man. It's like when you sit
I
down to
love it,
write,
though.
you're
It's
like, I
awesome.
wish I could remember that one
No.
thing, but it's like in conversation, it just
Yeah.
flows, right? We're in flow.
Yeah.
It's flow. And I love to think of it like that old metaphysical chestnut. If a tree falls in the woods and nobody's there to hear it, does it make a noise? And the metaphysician would say no, because sound is a wave that requires a receiver to be realized, to be made real.
Mm-hmm.
As is spirit is always broadcasting. This divine creative intelligence is broadcasting for all of us all the time. Are we gracious enough? Are we open enough to be the channel for it to flow through? And that's where our spiritual practices come in. That's where our priming, that's where listening to the music and doing these mini goals and all those beautiful points that you made are all designed. Ayahuasca, meditation, breath work, yoga, movement, nature reconnect, and walks all are meant to simply make us more of an opening to receive that flow.
Right. Well said.
Okay, we have another question. Kendra, you're awesome. I love your questions. Literally stumbled across this session. What are your names?
I'm Steffen Hoffman.
And I'm John Jacob Mubarak. Yeah. Our name's up there. I don't know why I forgot to put them up. My bad. Thank you so much, Kendra. So, okay, if there was, like if you were in my shoes and you were asking these questions, what question would you ask that I haven't asked? I know it's always, I am going to stop asking this question because it always stumps people. But is there something?
Oh, man.
Or is there something about you or something that you know, it doesn't have to be about you, some piece of knowledge that you know that you think is really cool that you'd like to share with people? Either it's about you personally or something that you know, like the airspeed velocity of an unladen African swallow, you know, like
what is that?
What is
actually that was my question.
Some piece of information you think would be
favorite
cool.
food.
Yeah.
Man. Well, I'll say one thing recently that I think may have made me more creative in some way or another is my fascination with the cosmos. I'm really into a lot of Michio Kaku's books. He's a futurist.
I don't know Michio Kaku.
Yeah, he's a quantum physicist. He's one of the co-authors on the superstring theory. And that theory alone just is very fascinating to me because it's the only one that actually gives the number of dimensions mathematically that exist in our universe. And I believe it's 10 or 11. I could be wrong. But their idea of why we exist and why everything's here is there's these like string-like materials that vibrate at a higher dimension that create everything in our dimension. And they also talk multiverse theory. I'm a fan of that, and I support that there's infinite amount of universes going on at the same time.
Yes.
So there could be a cowboy JJ, a king JJ, a lizard JJ, and all these different universes. And I believe that, and I also feel like when we dream or do ayahuasca, things like this, that we open a portal. And that portal, maybe it's seeded through our pineal gland that allows us to connect to that portal. And I love talking about dreams with people, just for how outlandish and weird they can be, and the symbolism, what it means to them. I feel a lot of times if something seems so real, it's like it is you, but it's just something slightly off. There's a couple things with that. I think we are jumping into another dimension or another reality, experiencing that for a little bit, and then coming back in once we wake up. I feel on the physical level, what happens when you dream, there's an abundance of oxytocin that's released, and it goes through our visual cortex. So it's our brain's best idea of what to do with that additional information. It's trying to process all this chemical that's running through it. So that's why we see it as a vision. But the areas of our brain that control our motor skills are turned off. So we're paralyzed, so we don't act out our dreams. Also, what's turned off is our logic part of our brain. So that's why I feel like a lot of dreams don't make sense. But I feel much more than just explaining in a physical term in terms of chemicals and things like that. I think there is a spiritual or metaphysical component that allows our consciousness to jump in between those. And you kind of experience that kind of stuff up here too in your journeys where you're out of your body sometimes, or you feel like you're going to a different thing. So all that type of stuff is just very, very fascinating to me to think about our origins of our universe, how it all came to be, superstring theory. Yeah, look it up. Michio Kaku, superstring theory.
I'm on it. What else are you reading lately?
Man, Woman, and Nature by Alan Watts.
Okay.
Which
I love Alan Watts.
yeah, he's amazing. I just love listening to him. His voice is, it's got that very elegant British accent. Amazing speak. I'm about halfway through, but what I love about this is he talks about, he's very well studied in philosophy and religion.
Mm-hmm.
So he talks about the differences between Christianity and Zen Buddhism, for example. When he gives, like when you're in, one is happening to you and one's happening from within.
Mm-hmm.
So when he talks about Zen Buddhism, it's much more like you are part of nature, rather than removed from nature and things acting upon you. So yeah, it's just kind of where I'm at on that.
I want to add.
I know Jay is going to have something for that.
Yeah. Now, I would say that is the religiosity of Christianity,
right?
Yeah. That has it the outside.
Yeah.
Because if you, and this is one of the things that I've found so amazing on my spiritual journey has been the revisiting of the Bible and the sayings of Jesus through the lens of a metaphysician. Because Jesus is all about from within. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. It is within. It is not I, but the Father within that does the work. Mm-hmm. All of these ideas of oneness, and that it's all available, right? I kind of talked myself off my point, but this idea of from, like, when we pray, mm-hmm. We're not praying to something, we're praying from an awareness that we're one with it. Mm-hmm. Right. So I love that. And I feel like I gave Christianity a bad rap. I gave Jesus a bad rap because of religion. Right. But as I took the religiosity away from Jesus and just listened to what he said. Right. And I would say that the Jesus sayings there's a great book called The Disappearance of the Universe. Mm. And in that they say, if you want a litmus test for the Bible, if it's not unconditional love, it's not the word of God. Anything that's smiting or smoting or God's favoring these people and not those people, that's the word of man. Mm-hmm. Unconditional love, that's the word of God. Mm-hmm. So that's beautiful. I love what you're sharing. And as it happens, like we come to this time about the end of the hour, and our conversation has been so rich and so beautiful. I've so enjoyed it.
It has, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on.
Man, thank you. Steffen is usually on the other side,
camera.
Right. He's on behind the camera or in the room doing work while I'm doing this. So it's so nice to have you in front of the camera. And I just, so all the wonderful things that are coming out visually from Rhythmia are coming from this guy. And so I'm super glad to have you on.
I just wanted to make say a comment on that point. Lots of new awesome stuff coming. JJ mentioned a new website. We have a bunch of other projects that are just going to really enhance people's integration, enhance their experience here. And we're always working really hard, both with the live experience here when you come to the resort, as well as on the digital side. And it's all for everyone's healing. It's very important to us. That's always core, like everything we do here. That's the messages from the medicine. So I'm just grateful that I can share my gifts and skills and meet people like JJ and live in this way to make all that happen. So thank you so much for joining us, everybody.
Thank you all so very much. I'm knowing this truth, that we are all guided by a divine intelligence, an infinite intelligence, that we are protected and guarded by an infinite love, and we are sourced by an infinite power that knows no limits and is inexhaustible. And it's from that I know that we're all heading towards an ever increasing good for each one of us, an ever widening field of awareness, and an ever deeper connection to the source of all of life. That's my prayer for us all. God bless you. Thank you so much. Peace and richest blessings. We'll see you next week.
Aho.
Aho. Ashe. And so it is.